bands a day. I was broke, came up with a plan, now I'm the man, that ain't no stopping me. I ran up all these bands over hand and made like 5 bands a day. I was broke, came up with a plan, now I'm the man, that ain't no stopping me. It ain't no stopping me. Got bands, I'ma run it up. It ain't no stopping me. I was broke, came up with a plan, now I'm the man, it ain't no stopping me. Got bands, I'ma run it up. It ain't no stopping me. I done ran up all these bands up and hand and made like 5 bands a day.
Boom! We're here. What's going on, guys? We're here. All right. So let's get right into today's conversation. I want to start off by giving myself a quick pat on the back. You know, if I could reach it, I'd give myself a quick pat on the back, because not even a week ago, I'd say about 5 days ago, in my very last live, I made a live called Elon Musk, Universal Basic Income is inevitable. Now that was a quote. And I played in that live a video of Elon Musk supporting universal basic income. And in that live, I said, there's a lot of money being saved from USAID, and I wouldn't be surprised if that money comes back to the American people in the form of a direct check, a stipend, if you will. Lo and behold, 5 days after I went on that live, and y'all can go back and check it. It's still up, it's still airing, so y'all can go back and watch that after tonight's live. But if you go back, lo and behold, 5 days later, it was just announced that Elon Musk is proposing a DOGE dividend. What? That's right. Elon Musk is proposing a DOGE dividend. Now, some people are saying that this would be a $5,000 check, sort of like a tax rebate or a stipend. So when you file your taxes in 2026, you would get $5,000 either coming back to you in the form of a refund or taking away from your tax liabilities. Now, I want you to hear, before I go further into detail, give you my personal thoughts. Y'all know on this channel, I always come with some clips that we're going to break through. But before I give y'all my personal thoughts on the situation, I want to play this clip so you can hear it from the horse's mouth. This is your president, Donald Trump, referring to the DOGE dividend. Check this out.
And saving taxpayers billions and billions of dollars every single day. And there's even under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the DOGE savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down debt, because the numbers are incredible, Elon. So many billions of dollars, billions, hundreds of billions. And we're thinking about giving 20% back to the American citizens and 20% down to pay back debt and pay down debt, which is, if you look at value, if it were a real estate balance sheet, the debt is tiny, but we still want to pay it down. Doesn't matter. We don't look at it as a piece of real estate. It's America. We're going to get it down through intelligence, hard work, and, as Elon said, a word called caring. You have to care. By doing this, Americans will tell us where there's waste. They'll be reporting it themselves. They participate in the process of saving money. So many of the men and women in this room, as an example, they pay tremendous amounts of taxes. And here are just a few examples of where your money was going before I came along. These are just some of the, just taken at random. Oh, there are much worse examples than this. I was just looking at them before the speech, and I can tell you they were much worse. And there are some that are horrible, but I don't want to really say them because they're very, very embarrassing.
But you know, he's getting older. He starts to ramble after a while. But the moral of the story is, while people are saying that Elon Musk is promising $5,000 checks, Donald Trump is saying 20%. Now, 20% can grow. 20% can grow. If it's $5,000 now, and he's talking about 20%, but they're continuing to cut, we don't know how that number will change. All right, 20%, that is an interesting mark. So a lot of people are getting excited about this. Let me tell you something. If the DOGE dividend goes out in 2026 and you start putting $5,000 checks in people's mailboxes come January, February, March, and April, the Democrats are done. I mean, the Democrats are bleeding right now, but let those DOGE dividends start hitting people's checks, not only in 2026, but in 2027 and 2028. What? Let me tell you something. The Democrats should be shook right now. The Democrats should be shaking in their boots if these DOGE dividends start to go out. The Democrats are looking bad right now. I gotta tell you, and I gotta say, I gotta just credit where credit is due. I did call this a week ago. All right, I did call it. I knew that they're going to have to, and being that Donald Trump has already given out these stimulus checks, and he's seen how popular that was in 2020. Now, 2020 was a drastic time, but Elon Musk has already discussed saying that universal basic income is inevitable. We're cleaning up the government. Donald Trump is talking about cutting the military spending in half and denuclearizing. What do you think is going to happen to that money? All right. They're planning on spending that money here at home. And I say, hey, what do I say to that? It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. But here's the thing. As I said in my last live, which I made previous to Elon Musk and Donald Trump announcing this DOGE dividend, as I said in that live, there is a difference between universal basic income. There's a difference between the DOGE dividend, which is good, fine and dandy, but then there's reparations. All right, and y'all know on this channel, I'm pushing the reparations. I'm standing on the reparations. All right, that's a hill that I'm dying on. I've got family here in this land for generations. And when I push for reparations, I'm not doing it because, oh, I'm broke and I need help. No, I'm doing it because not only have I seen what my parents and my grandparents have gone through, and my great-grandparents, I've seen Senior. I'm the fifth. I saw Senior. I've got pictures with me and Senior, who was born in 1903. I've seen what they had to do, what they provided, and I've seen what they've done for my lineage. And I think about all of the other folks who were born in America, who have the same foundational Black American history, but didn't have a Senior in their family. See, my family, I've got Fry Senior. I'm not going to dox myself, but you can go check it out. Google him yourself. Louis Fry Senior, the founder of NOMA, National Organization for Minority Architects. He graduated high school when he was 15 years old. Born in 1903, he was the first Black man in America to ever go to Harvard Graduate School. He went around the country building HBCUs, including Howard University, Tuskegee University, and many more. In the 1930s, 40s, 50s, my ancestor, someone that I've met, Louis Fry Sr., I'm the fifth. Louis Fry Sr. went around this country building HBCUs. So when I say we built this country, I'm talking about the architects. Fry Sr. was an architect. Fry Jr. was an architect. Fry the Third was an architect. We've got lineage of builders in this country. And I'm grateful for my family. I know what my family, what my ancestors have done to put me in the position that I'm in. But I look at all these other folks who have suffered the same historical atrocities, who didn't have someone to change their lineage like Fry Sr. changed my lineage. When I say my lineage, I'm talking about my family, not my culture, the FBA culture. I'm talking about my family. Fry Sr. changed my family history forever. He put us in position. Respect and salute to the ancestors who I've met, who I have pictures with. So when they try to act like it was so long ago, it really wasn't. And let me tell you this, just how not so long ago it was. This lady, I want to play you this woman who was a survivor of the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre, because she was just denied reparations by the Oklahoma Supreme Court. All right. And I'm going to break down this case. So this was a bit of a clickbait on this one. I got y'all hooked on this one. See, we're going to talk about the DOGE dividend, and I think that's a good thing. But I have to put it in perspective that although I'm supporting a lot of the policies that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are instituting right now, as far as clearing out these illegals and as far as cutting the USAID and spending that money in America, that's all great. Hey, I'm round of applause. I'm happy about that. But on this channel, we will not lose focus that reparations is the goal, and it's the goal, and it's important now more than ever because they want our ancestors to die. They want our family members to die. They want our parents, our grandparents, they want them to die so that the claim of all those people who were alive in the 50s, alive in the 60s, saw Martin Luther King get assassinated, saw Malcolm X get assassinated, saw Fred Hampton get assassinated, saw Huey P. Newton get assassinated. All of those folks who saw the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre, they want these people to die so that they're hoping my generation, the younger generation, will say, oh, well, we weren't born into Jim Crow. We weren't born into slavery, so we don't have a claim. They want to outlive. They want our ancestors to die so that their claim will die with them. And we folks like me on the grassroots, we're not going to have that. But let me play you this woman. Her name is Dr. Olivia Hooker. She is a survivor of the Holocaust of Black Wall Street. I want y'all to listen to what she has to say, her remembering her experience during the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre. Check this out.
Didn't start to burn and pillage until they decided, well, all right, we have to teach them a lesson. The Ku Klux decided we have to teach them a lesson. So actually, we as children didn't hear any noise or any shots the night of the 31st of May. But on June 1st, they began to systematically destroy neighborhoods. And they had airplanes dropping things down on people's houses, and they had made up their minds to clear the entire area.
This woman said they were dropping bombs and they made their mind to clear the entire area. I hope you can hear.
They destroyed neighborhoods, and they had airplanes dropping things down on people's houses, and they had made up their minds to clear the entire area of Black people. So most of the people fled. When they saw houses burning in the streets behind them, they left. But my mother was determined not to flee. And she poured water on everything she could put water on, trying to make the house safe so it wouldn't burn. But the first thing they did when the militia came was to take all the men, and they took my 8-year-old brother too, to a place, bullpen or some place where they were holding all the Black men. And we didn't know, because we lived on one side of town and they lived on the other, we didn't know they weren't doing the same thing. The militia, you have to obey the militia, so we thought they were locking up the non-Blacks too. But it so happened that it didn't occur that way. What they did was to disarm and lock up all Black men. And then they said to the mob, there's nothing out there now but women and children, so you can do whatever you want to do. And that's when the real terrible things started to happen, because they would invade your house. And my mother had a very strong will. She was a Tuskegee graduate, and she had been trained to teach. But she decided, well, we have to eat no matter what's happening out there in the world. So she had 3 triangular pots that you could put 3 pots on one gas eye on the stove. So she was cooking, and she made biscuits, and they were in the oven. Well, when the crowd came in to pillage and burn, they were infuriated, because here's this woman cooking cream of wheats and making applesauce and cooking biscuits instead of being terrified and running from us. So I think they thought they had to teach us a special lesson. So they first took the food out. Of course, the children are cowering under this big oak table where my mother had put us. And then we saw them take our food out and throw it in the dirt. And then they came back and got the biscuits and took them out and stomped them in the dirt. And then they came back in to destroy whatever they didn't want to take with them.
Now that is Dr. Olivia Hooker. All right, that was Dr. Olivia Hooker. She's still alive, by the way. That woman is still alive. And last year in 2024, the Oklahoma Supreme Court denied her reparations. All right. So that's why I say all the good, the DOGE dividend, hey, I'm happy about that. A lot of the policies that Donald Trump is instituting is causing a lot of pain. He's shaking a lot of things up. When you make changes, there's going to be some discomfort. So a lot of the policies that Donald Trump is doing, they are uncomfortable. He's shaking things up. A lot of them are challenging, but ultimately, I think there's a lot of good that is coming of this. There's a lot of good that's coming of this. The American people, foundational Black Americans in particular, but the American people in general will benefit from a lot of the policies that Donald Trump is instituting. Now, as far as, although I agree with that, I want to stay focused on the fact that reparations is not to be removed from the table. We can't lose focus is my whole point here. And I want to just drive this home a little bit more concerning the fact that her reparations claim was just denied in 2024, last year, by the Oklahoma Supreme Court. The reason I want to emphasize that is while that case was pending, there were 3 survivors. Okay, there were 3 survivors of the Tulsa, Oklahoma race massacre while her case was pending in the Supreme Court. In 2023, 1 of those 3 survivors died, unfortunately. But that's exactly what they want. They want to delay, deny. They want all of the survivors, all of the people who were here, who were born into a system of Jim Crow, all of the people who were born into an apartheid American system, they are waiting for that generation to die so that the kids who were born into an integrated system, they're hoping will just give up the fight, give up the ghost, and just accept their role as a permanent underclass. And I, for one, I won't have it. Not sitting down. No, I'm going to be part of the resistance. I'm going to be part of the voice calling for reparations. I'm going to be part of the voice calling to repair the harm, not ignore, not accept this benign neglect policy. No. So today, let's get into this article. And I want to encourage everyone to go back and read the case. The case is called Randall versus City of Tulsa. It's a very interesting court case. I would encourage everyone on their own time to go back and read that case. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to read a case overview for you guys, so you give you some more information. But I would encourage you to go back and read that on your own time. The case of Randall versus City of Tulsa. All right, without further ado, let's get into this article because I think it's interesting, and I want to document for anyone who might read this, not only watch this, not only today, but in the years to come. I want to document this history. Because it's important. Oklahoma Supreme Court rejects reparations for the Tulsa race massacre. The decision is the latest and perhaps the final blow to the massacre's 2 remaining survivors in their decades-long quest for justice. All right? This is coming from the statecourtreport.org, where they give case briefs and case summaries. And this is very important. This is very interesting, the way that this was written. They highlight some things. So as we break out in this article, I'm going to pause to give you guys some thoughts. In 1921, the Tulsa Race Massacre claimed the lives of an estimated 300 Black Oklahomans. The riot was triggered by false allegations. Now, this is what's in court. This is public knowledge at this point. The riot was triggered by false allegations that a young Black man working as a shoe shiner had assaulted a white woman in an elevator. The white mob that assembled acted with explicit support of the Tulsa city officials. So these things are not being contested at this point. These things are not, it's not, oh, this is hearsay, this is what one side says. No, this is what happened. This is accepted as truth in the case itself. Go back and read the case, Randall versus City of Tulsa. These are the facts of the case. Over 24 hours from May 31st to June 1st, the mob decimated the vibrant Greenwood neighborhood, nicknamed Black Wall Street, because of the many prosperous black-owned businesses lining the streets. Not only the many prosperous black-owned businesses lining the streets, but the many black-owned, the whole community was black. The real estate, the homes, the businesses, the doctors, the dentists, the lawyers, the banks. It was a black town. All right. Even though the massacre was more than a century ago, at least 2 of the thousands of black residents injured and displaced by the riot are still alive. Now, the reason they say at least 2 is because while this case was pending, a third victim was still alive. And she died in 2023. God rest the dead. God bless the dead. She died in 2023. Her case, they waited for her to die. Understand, she could not have called for reparations up until at least the 1960s because she was living in an apartheid state. She was living under Jim Crow up until the mid-1960s. This race massacre happened in 1912. So for at least 50 years, she was without any, there was nothing she could do. But she didn't give up the fight. This woman lived to be 107. We're going to get deeper into the article, but I'm referring to the one who died in 2023. She lived, and I just thinking about, okay, let's continue. Let's continue. Viola Fletcher, age 110, and Leslie Benningfield Randall, age 109. They were there when Black Wall Street burned. So when they always say, oh, no one alive was a slave, you shouldn't get reparations. I didn't own any slaves. It's like, really, no one was alive? There's a lot of millions of people who were alive. This woman survived the race massacre, but think about the millions of people who were alive during living under an apartheid state. Living in an apartheid state. The massacre forced Fletcher and her family to abruptly flee their home, and they're hoping that these people die. The massacre forced Fletcher and her family to abruptly flee their homes, losing everything. Likewise, Randall's home was razed by white rioters during the riot. The losses that their families and community experienced as a result of the massacre have affected the women both emotionally and financially throughout their long lives. Now, here's the important thing. Okay, we all know the harm that was caused. A lot of people, oh, okay, we all know. I don't want. I'm get over it. I don't want to hear the harm that we've caused. Okay, but what about this? No person or institution has ever been held legally accountable for the injuries arising from the riot. See, that's the part that they want to skip over too. Okay, we all know about the harm, but what was done to correct the harm? You're tired of people complaining. You're tired of people talking about, oh, the massacres and the apartheid state of Jim Crow. You don't want to hear us talk about that. But when the question asks, okay, so what corrective action has been taken? Was anyone ever held legally responsible? Did anyone go to jail or prison behind this? No. Was any type of funds awarded to these people who lost their homes, who had to move, who lost their jobs, who lost their offices, who lost everything thanks to the city, not thanks to the race? Yeah, there was a racist mob, but the racist mob, that would have just been gang on gang action. No, the city, the police, the pilots, they were dropping bombs from the sky. This was the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma, who did this to these people. And the city is still here. So you might say, oh, well, my family didn't didn't bomb anyone in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We were born later. We came in Ellis Island in the 60s and the 70s. Okay, but the city bombed these people and they're still alive. And no person or institution has ever been held legally accountable for the injuries arising from the riot. Of the individual survivors and affected businesses, now mind you, this is an all-black town. We're talking about Tulsa, Oklahoma, Greenwood, Oklahoma. We're talking about Black Wall Street. Of the individual survivors and affected businesses, historians believe that only a single white business owner received compensation either through the courts or through insurance claims. Now let that sink in. This is Black Wall Street we're talking about. This is an all-black town that is thriving in the height of Jim Crow segregation. So it's not like, oh, it was mixed. There were black people and white people. No, this was a black town in Greenwood, Oklahoma, in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is a black town, Black Wall Street. The city bombed and burned all of their businesses, all of their homes. No person or institution has ever been held legally accountable. And of all the survivors and all of the businesses, the only one to get compensated was a single white business owner. The white business owner in an all-black town in Black Wall Street. What are the odds? What are the odds? Who'd have thunk it? Of course, that's typical, right? Typical. Black Wall Street, the city burns down everything. Who gets compensation? The only white person in town. Okay. For decades, government officials tried to paper over the events. What does that mean? They tried to stall. That's what they're doing now. They're trying to stall, delay. Wait for those people to die so we don't have to worry about it anymore. Justice delayed is justice denied. Who said that? Justice delayed is justice denied. I need to, yeah. For decades, I need to make it, that should be put that on a t-shirt. Justice delayed is justice denied. Put that on a t-shirt. For decades, government officials tried to paper over the events. They tried to delay. Students in Oklahoma schools did not learn about the massacre as part of their state history lessons, and for many years, little was done to tell the story through public commemorations or activities. Shh, let's not talk about that. Shh, let's not, let's not talk about that. Well, yeah, that was a long time. That was a long time ago, right? Isn't that what they say now? That was a long time ago. What about the massacre was in 1912? What about 1913? Oh, that was a long time ago. 1920. Oh, that was almost 10 years ago. 1930. Oh, you're talking about that massacre? They just delayed, denied, papered over it. Let's not talk about it. You're talking about that? You're still talking about the Tulsa race massacre? You're still talking about that? Yes. In 2025, we're still talking about that. Because justice delayed is justice denied. Last week, the Oklahoma justice system delivered another, perhaps final blow to the massacre's victims. In an 8-1 vote in Randall versus City of Tulsa, the state Supreme Court affirmed the dismissal of the survivors' claims for compensation under tort doctrines, tort is civil law, doctrines of public nuisance and unjust enrichment. So this is what they were trying to sue for reparations under. They were saying, hey, a public nuisance was occurred. We had and unjust enrichment. People came and stole all of our property. The city itself burned our houses and took our property. Basically eminent domain, only uncompensated. Is uncompensated eminent domain. The survivors' attorneys have said that they will seek a rehearing before the High Court, but that effort is an uphill battle. While one of the 9 justices, James Edmondson, did render a partial dissent, he didn't write an opinion to explain his position. So there is very little for the plaintiff's counsel to grab onto for a basis of reconsideration. For more than a century, social oppression, legislative inaction, and judicial impotence have stymied the plaintiffs at every turn. Unaware of their rights and unable to enforce them in the Jim Crow era, the system of legalized racial segregation that lasted until the mid-1960s. Years passed before the survivors of the Tulsa Race Massacre were in a position to claim reparations. Mind you, this whole push for reparations that we're seeing in 2025, people act like, why are you asking for reparations now? That happened so long ago. We're just now getting in a position to where we're even able to claim reparations. And I think that's what's going over a lot of people's head. And I want to read this paragraph just to drive this point home. For more than a century, because the race massacre happened in 1912, you think that the survivors of the race massacre, the Tulsa, Oklahoma race massacre, are going to go and ask for reparations in 1915, in 1920, in 1930? In 1940, at what point were we actually in a position to claim for reparations? You think they're going to go and ask for reparations while living in a segregated apartheid state? So when were the people, and there's survivors alive today who have just been denied in 2024. So tell me exactly when, if not now, when should we have fought for reparations? Now is the first time in the history of America where foundational Black Americans are in a position where we're able to fight for reparations and get any real traction. I think that's important to state. For more than a century, social oppression, legislative inaction, and judicial impotence have stymied the plaintiffs at every turn. Unaware of their rights in 1912 and unable to enforce them in the Jim Crow era, which didn't end until late 1960s, early 1970s, and that's arguably. I was born in the 90s, and I was part of a program trying to bus Black kids from the inner city to integrate the white schools out in Alpharetta. Was it Alpharetta? Shout out to Webbridge Elementary. Go look it up. So that was in the 90s. So when they act like, 1964 legislation, 1965 legislation passed, and boom, segregation is over. No, it took integration was a process. All right. So unaware of their rights and unable to enforce them in the Jim Crow era, the system of legalized racial segregation that lasted until the mid-60s, years passed before the survivors of the Tulsa massacre were in a position to claim reparations. Right? And that's where we find ourselves today. When they eventually attempted to use civil rights law to pursue their remedies, the federal court said, too late, and refused to waive the statute of limitations, barring their claims. That's the point that I'm trying to make. That's what they're hoping to do. They want to say, statute of limitations, too late. Yeah, we burned your house down. We took all your property. We took your car, and we ran you out of town. And yeah, you're still alive. I see you're here. Yeah, we acknowledge that it wasn't just white criminals. No, it was the city. It was the police officers. It was the pilots. It was the National Guard. It was the city of Tulsa, Oklahoma who did this. And yeah, the city is still here, but too late. You took too long. Gotcha. That's what they want. That's what they want. They want to outlive. They want all the people who have suffered these direct, intentional, and specific harms by the United States government. They want them to die so that their claims will die with them. And the children who have lost their inheritance, who had their inheritance stolen by the U.S. government, they're going to tell the children, shut up, it wasn't yours anyway. That's what we're living in. That's what we're seeing in real time. When they eventually attempted to use civil rights law to pursue their remedies, the federal court said it was too late and refused to waive the statute of limitations, barring their claims. The survivors sought relief from the Oklahoma legislature, and in 2001, an appointed commission recommended reparations. But the legislature took no concrete action to assist the affected individuals. So basically, yeah, we know we did wrong, and We probably owe you money, because that would be the easiest way to solve this problem, is to just pay you for the property that we stole from you illegally. But nah, it's too inconvenient. Get over it. Get over it, naggers. Stop whining. And then they'll condescend to you as if they're in a position of moral authority. They'll talk down to you. Oh man, the devil is a lie. The plaintiffs and their attorneys found a sliver of hope in 2019 when a lower court in Oklahoma ruled that drug manufacturers could be held liable under a public nuisance theory for damage caused by the state's opioid epidemic. So they're trying to give reparations to the white fentanyl users in Oklahoma. they're trying to give reparations to these drug addicts out there in Oklahoma. And when the survivors of the Tulsa race massacre went to use the same public nuisance theory, the same law, they were like, oh no, this reparations is for the drug addicts, the fentanyl users, the meth heads out in Oklahoma. This isn't for you survivors of race massacre. Yeah, the city bombed your homes and burned your houses to the ground systematically, went neighborhood by neighborhood. Systematically, the city destroyed your town and your home and your businesses. But you can't use the policies that we've made for the drug addicts. Are you crazy? Can't make this stuff up, man. You can't make it up. Drawing on that precedent, in 2020, the plaintiff filed a lawsuit in state court stating claims of public nuisance and unjust enrichment, theories that would not run afoul of state statute of limitation issues because they're based on ongoing harm. See, and that's another point I have to emphasize here. This is why this case is so important, and I would encourage everyone to go back and read the case itself. I'm trying to give you guys the condensed cliff notes of the case, but go back and check out the case of Randall versus the city of Tulsa. It's very important. It just happened in 2024, so it's a very recent case, and this has very big implications in the reparations movement as a whole. So I would encourage everyone to go back and do your research and listen to that case brief directly. The plaintiffs argued that the defendants, who included the city of Tulsa and the defendants are the city of Tulsa and other government entities. So when they say, oh, well, my parents never did. Okay, listen, it's the government that did this to us. Yeah, your parents and your grandparents, they were evil too. Don't act like they weren't. If the black survivors of the Tulsa massacre are still alive, you're telling me none of the perpetrators are still alive? What? See, that's the part that they don't want to talk about as well. They always act like, oh, it was so long ago, as if all those people have died. The survivors of the Tulsa massacre are still alive. If they're still survivors of the Tulsa massacre, the victims of the Tulsa massacre are still alive. What about the perpetrators? Okay. Created a public nuisance in the century since. Okay, so the plaintiffs argue that the defendants, who included the city of Tulsa and other government entities, created a public nuisance in the century since the massacre by thwarting the community's efforts to rebuild and destroying the plaintiffs' sense of comfort, health, and safety in their lives and property. I can understand why. How safe can you feel when your own government, your own city, bombs you because you're doing too well? They bomb your homes. They didn't have a court case. They didn't find you guilty of a crime. They just said, oh, yeah, this neighborhood is filled with a bunch of black people. They've got businesses and jobs. They've got money, nice suits and cars. Yeah, we got to take that out. The city, the country, the state. Those are the defendants. How do you feel safe and comfortable when your own government has a history of attacking you? Not people in the past. No, you, specifically you. Your city bombed you, not some other people that you knew about, not your grandparents. You Your city bombed you. How safe would you feel? Your state bombs you in airplanes. This is back in 1912 before planes were common. How safe could you feel? The plaintiffs also argued that Tulsa's promotion of tourism to the former Black Wall Street area and defendants profiting from a massacre which they participated in without any compensation to the affected individuals was grossly inequitable and constituted unjust enrichment. Tell me where the lie is. Tell me where the lie is. Because mind you, we all know how the story ends. The court denies their claim. All right, and we're going to get into why as well. We're going to get into why. But tell me where the lie is. The plaintiffs are arguing that Tulsa, not individuals, the city itself is promoting tourism. Oh, hey, this used to be Black Wall Street. There used to be a dentist's office here. There used to be a black bank there. There used to be a manufacturer, manufacturing, a textile mill there. There used to be a car store here. There used to be a barber shop there. There used to be restaurants here. Oh, used to be. Yeah, we bombed it. But hey, you can come check out what used to be there and give us some money so we can show you what we bombed. Give us the money so we can show you what we took from those naggers who are still alive, who we're denying reparations to today. Come give us the money. This is a historical site. We bombed this place not too long ago. Come check it out. I'll be your tour guide. Yeah, I'll be your tour guide. Let's go. I'll show you all around. We bombed this place. It used to be Tulsa. It used to be Black Wall Street. Now it's just good old Tulsa. Freaking. So they argued in court that the city of Tulsa's promotion of tourism to the former Black Wall Street area and defendants profiting from a massacre in which they participated without any compensation to the affected individuals was grossly inequitable and constituted unjust enrichment. Now, the defendants' retention of profits using the names, likeness, and stories of the survivors, the plaintiff said, exacerbated their pain and trauma. They're bragging about it. They're getting paid to brag about what they did to these people. And in 2024, they denied them further justice. However, in 2021, the Oklahoma Supreme Court reversed the lower court's opioid ruling that the Tulsa massacre plaintiffs relied on, holding that the public nuisance law was not intended to address pervasive policy problems. The court reiterated that position when it dismissed the Tulsa race massacre case, characterizing the plaintiff's claim as a policy concern and adopting a narrow view of the court's capacity to address them under the public nuisance doctrine. Oh, I'm sorry. There's nothing we can do. Yeah, you can't come to the courts. The city bombed you. Yeah, but if the city doesn't want to pay you for the buildings that they bombed and burned, if they don't want to pay you for the cars that the city stole, if they don't want to pay you for the death of your uncles and aunts and your mother and your father, if they don't want to pay you, sorry, I'm just a Supreme Court. What could I do? My hands are tied. The court concluded the original injuries were too remote and that the lingering effects of the massacre a century later, if any, were not the responsibility of the current defendants. According to the court, the continuing blight alleged with the Greenwood community born out of the massacre implicates generational society inequities that can only be resolved by policymakers, not the courts. So basically they're saying, hey, get your weight up, get your numbers up. Basically, cut out all those abortions. We need the numbers. because the courts are not going to help you. And until we get some demographic changes, and that's one of the reasons why I'm glad about all of these deportations. You know, here in DC, they're trying to give illegal immigrants the right to vote. If you live here for 31 days, not even 31 months, not even a year. If you come to DC and you live in DC for 31 days, you have the right to vote in DC local politics. You can vote for our mayor. You can vote for our city council. You can vote in DC elections if you've been in the state and not in the district for 31 days. They're just giving our vote away, and these people are the biggest fighters. The biggest. These folks are the most resistant to reparations. These folks are the most resistant to reparations. They're trying to give up their vote to. They've done polls to see which groups of people are the most resistant to reparations, and consistently, first generation and second generation immigrants are the most. First generation immigrants are the most staunch resistance to giving reparations. So yeah, get them up out the paint. Thank you. Shout out to Trump. Shout out to Trump. Good luck with that. As to the unjust enrichment claim, the court concluded that absent some sort of fraud or other abuse used to secure that profit, the plaintiffs failed to provide the necessary predicate for such a claim. They bombed your house. They didn't steal it from fraud. they just outright bombed it. Oh, is that a problem? No, that doesn't qualify. The case is one of many ongoing efforts nationwide to secure reparative justice for race-based wrongs of the past. See, and this is something I wanted to clarify from this article. Reparations is not to be race-based. And I think I would question the person who wrote this article. I would question their biases, because reparations is lineage based. It is. We must have a delineation. The delineation movement and the reparations movement have got to go hand in hand. All right, let's take a moment to break that down. The reason the delineation movement is so vital to the times that we're living in and so crucial to the reparations movement as a whole is because foundational Black Americans, or the descendants of freedmen, must be acknowledged as a specific and unique class. All right, similar to the Native Americans, they must be differentiated. Right now, we've got this term African American, which is doing a lot of harm. If you notice recently, the last couple years, 23, 24, 22, really since I'd say 2020, 2021, that whole people of color term has really gone out the window. You saw it during Kamala Harris's run for president. When she was running for president, they were trying to claim that she was Black. And the reason that she was so adamant in saying, oh yeah, I'm Black, I'm not answering these race-based questions, is because that term people of color, that term minority, that stuff is out the window. That as soon as that's turning people off. It's like a alert, red flag. What'd he say? People of color. What'd he say? Minority. What? What? Did he say minority? No. Right now, the delineation movement is vital because they tried to layer us. They tried to suppress us by putting all of these other groups on top of us. See, in the height of Jim Crow, the majority of the country was white. We all know that. But the second, by a large margin, the second biggest demographic was Black Americans, foundational Black Americans. It really wasn't until the 1970s, after the 1965 immigration bill passed, where all of these other groups started to come into the country en masse. We didn't see a big influx of African. Why would somebody come from Africa and want to move to America to live under Jim Crow? I mean, you're going to live, you've got problems in Africa, we got problems in America. You're going to leave being the majority of black people in Africa, and you're going to come to America where these people are lynching you, cutting off your nuts. Like, I'm talking about the most graphic, eating you. These were cannibalistic rituals these people were doing. These people were eating black people, taking their hair and using it to stuff their pillows, stuff their couches. These people were cannibals. You're going to leave your all-black society in the Ivory Coast in Ethiopia. You're going to leave Ethiopia, your all-black, independent country, and you're going to come to America where people are kidnapping, lynching, mutilating, and eating black people. Nobody's going to go leave Ethiopia to come to an apartheid state in the United States. See, it wasn't until we got rid of all of that racism, all of that systematic oppression, all of that systematic apartheid, then everyone's like, oh, America's actually pretty nice now that they got rid of all of that systematic racism, all of that Jim Crow stuff, all of that slavery. Now that they've gotten rid of all of those white policies, those pro-European policies, now America's pretty great. Now that the black Americans finally got some semblance of justice, America's pretty cool now. Now the Ethiopians are going to come over here. They weren't rushing over here trying to be part of the Tulsa race massacre in 1912. They just weren't, right? So with these demographic changes, we see, just lost my whole train of thought there. We see that the delineation movement, the people who are affected, these other groups. So you come over, before you were Ethiopian, you didn't take part in any of the oppression as far as slavery goes. You didn't take part in any of the fighting back. You didn't fight. You weren't part of the resistance. You weren't part of the civil rights movement. Your group did nothing. But you're going to come over here and now, oh, well, I'm black and I'm an American, so I'm African American just like you. What? I'm Jamaican, but I'm black. I'm in America just like you. I'm African American just like you. I'm Virgin Islands. I'm Haitian. I'm Rwandan. I'm Kenyan. I'm all of these other groups. I'm Hispanic, and not just black. I'm Hispanic. I'm a minority. I'm a white Hispanic. I'm a minority. Give me some DEI policies. I need affirmative action. I'm a white Hispanic. I just got here from Peru. I just got here from Brazil, where we were enslaving the black people down in Brazil. But I come to America and I'm a minority, and I deserve DEI. I deserve affirmative action. I'm no longer a slave master in Brazil. Now I'm here in America. I want a piece of the affirmative action that those black people get. That's what we've been facing the past 60 years. And that is why the delineation movement is so necessary. And the reason I just got triggered on that was because they're trying to act as if the reparations movement is race-based, and it's not. We got to be very clear about that. Reparations is specific to a particular and unique lineage. It is a lineage-based policy. If you just got here from Ethiopia, you chose to come to America. You weren't here for the slavery. You weren't here for the Jim Crow. You weren't here fighting back during the civil rights. You weren't here for any of that. You can't just come over here and think that you're entitled to the reparative justice that our people have been fighting and suffering for the past 400 or 500 years. It doesn't work that way. No, it does not work that way. This is not race-based. You chose to be here. The fact that you are welcomed in the country, you're welcome. You should be grateful. That's enough. But the people who built this country, who didn't choose to be here, who were already here, Plymouth Rock, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. The people who were already here is who has a conversation to be had with the U.S. government right now, as far as I'm concerned. So I had to correct that. That's why the delineation movement is so important, because this is not a race-based policy. So let's get back into this article. I think it's nearing completion. They're going over the reasons why, the justifications the Oklahoma Supreme Court used to deny reparations. So the case is one of many ongoing efforts nationwide to secure reparative justice. Again, I want to correct them, for lineage-based wrongs of the past, including slavery. States including California, New York, and local governments, have established reparations commissions to examine possible responses to the effects of historic racism. Oh, sorry. I'm in the wrong article here. Guys, if you've made it this far, let me take a second. If you guys made it this far in the video, I appreciate y'all. I know that it's a slow one tonight. I know whenever I talk about reparations, I start to lose subscribers. I start to lose viewers. So this is, every once in a while, I just gotta do it because this is what I'm here for. This is what I like. I know this type of content, it doesn't do well in the algorithm, and nobody wants to hear black people complaining and whining about delineation and reparations. Nobody wants to hear that. It's not sexy. It's not the most exciting, entertaining, content. I could be talking about rap videos. I could be talking about Kendrick Lamar and stuff, Snoop Dogg, and I could be a DJ Academics, but I'd rather talk about something that I think is important. And I hope that 10, 20, 30 years down the line, 40 years down the line, when reparations finally does get passed, I hope my son can look at me and say, oh, well, my dad was part of that. My dad, he was doing it before people thought it was cool. So I'm just paying my dues right now. So I appreciate everyone rocking with me. I say that to say I appreciate everyone rocking with me. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you made it this far in the video. I do appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all for your patience, and I appreciate y'all for recognizing the importance, because it really is important. It really not just because you might know me. I don't know who's watching here. You might know me in real life. You might not. I don't know, but we're living in some times where this now more than ever is a vital conversation that needs to be had. Because like I said, the whole point of this video, they want our parents and our grandparents to die empty-handed. That's what they want. It's like someone owes you money, so they hope you die before they got to pay you back. It's like, oh, I owe this dude so much money. Man, I hope either you die or I hope I die, but I don't want to pay this guy back. So I hope I die first, or I hope he dies first so I don't have to pay him back. That's what they're doing. That's really what they're doing, and I think it's kind of evil. All right, let's finish up this article so I can go chill out with my family. I know my son is getting tired. All right, let's get into it. It says some municipalities have even implemented concrete reparations programs, most notably Evanston, Illinois, which in 2019 became the first city in the country to offer monetary grants to black residents for its discriminatory housing policies from 1919 to 1969. Hey, give a quick round of applause to Evanston, Illinois for doing the right thing. Shout out to Evanston, Illinois for giving that reparations to the black residents for their discriminatory housing policies from 1919 to 1969. That's big. That's big. That's a trendsetter. Shout out to Evanston, Illinois. Controversy follows these initiatives, however. In June 2024, several white residents of Evanston, represented by the conservative litigation group Judicial Watch, sued the city in federal court. See, it's always going to come with some pushback. Yeah, we stole your property. Yeah, we've been discriminatory against you for centuries and generations. But boy, if you do anything to correct that, that's racist. Let them tell it. They argue that Evanston's reparations program illegally uses race as a criteria for distributing compensation, thereby excluding white residents in violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Other local reparations programs have been criticized for offering compensation. Let me not just breeze by that, because that is exactly what I'm saying. This is why the lineage-based reparations movement is so important. This is why the delineation movement is so important. And one of the goal of the delineation movement is not just a cultural shift. It's not just a conscious shift. What it is, it's a political shift. We right now are pushing for the U.S. Census to recognize foundational Black Americans as a specific and unique group. That is very important. because the biggest impediment, the biggest blocker of reparations is the 14th Amendment, barring any type of race-based policies to repair the harm which was racially based. You had the harm was racially based, but they're saying that the solution cannot be racially based. So how do you square that circle? How do you solve a problem which is racially based without having a racially based tailored solution? The solution that we've identified is the delineation movement. We have to get foundational Black Americans recognized not as a race, but as a specific status, as a lineage. You have the status of a descendant of freedmen. This is a status play. So the delineation movement and the reparations movement, they are intertwined. They are inextricably linked. They cannot be separated. And we see that even, shout out to Evanston, Illinois, they tried to do the right thing, but I believe the white citizens of Evanston, Illinois have a legitimate claim here. They would say, oh, you have a racially based solution. The 14th Amendment bars any race-based solutions. All right. Unfortunately, I'm not happy that this policy is going to be overturned if it hasn't already been. It likely will be overturned. But I would say we need to learn from that and tailor our reparations claim to be lineage-based, not reparations-based. So anyone who's listening who's not overly familiar with the reparations movement, when you're talking about reparations, you have to be very specific. Hey, this is not for race. This is not for Black people. This is for the descendants of American slaves, descendants of freedmen. All right, the descendants of freedmen. Because if you're an Ethiopian who chose to come over here in the 1980s and 90s, you are not deserving of reparations. Not from the U.S. government, at least. And your country was never conquered, right? So who exactly are you looking to get reparations from? Or are you just trying to take money that you know you don't deserve? No disrespect to the Ethiopians. I'm just using, that group as an example. Because they notoriously have not been conquered. So that's the prime example. All right, moving on. Almost done with this article, guys. Shout out to y'all. Other local reparations programs have been criticized for offering compensation to residents without requiring specific evidence of present-day race-based harm. All right, here's the last paragraph. All right. In the 2020 report, Human Rights Watch characterized the Tulsa Race Massacre and its aftermath as a human rights violation. As that report noted, the fact that a government abdicated its responsibility for nearly 100 years and continued to do so in subsequent years does not absolve it of that responsibility today. Now that's important. That's important. Unfortunately, they don't have any teeth. So although Human Rights Watch may say that, which is accurate, it's not the same as a judge saying it. Over the years, every decision maker, both federal and state, has fallen in line to deny compensation to the massacre's victims, despite the local government's complicity in the devastation. The Oklahoma Supreme Court's opinion joins the rest, sending a clear message to the survivors and their descendants. There will be no justice or accountability here. Let them tell it, but I don't have that defeatist attitude. I think reparations will be achieved. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It's just a matter of time. Because there's folks like me who's not going to give up the fight. All right? Folks like, y'all know the names, everyone out there. And hey, we're not leaders. I know I'm not a leader. I'm just here reporting the news to anyone who wants to hear. I'm just here to share information, share my perspective, and give folks an opportunity. Hey, y'all know I read all my comments. I give y'all an opportunity to be heard as well. And that's one thing I do want to get into more. I'm going to start doing lives where I'm chatting with others. So be on the lookout for those lives. But guys, that's going to be it for today's video. I know I hooked y'all in with the conversation regarding the DOGE dividend, and I think that's good news. I am looking forward to getting my DOGE dividend, but I just don't want us to lose track of the reparations movement, because it's easy. Like I said, I called it in the live I did a week ago. What they're going to do is they're going to make UBI. They're going to make universal basic income. They're going to try to give us the, oh, well, we can't give you reparations, but we'll give you universal basic income, which will disproportionately help black people. Black people. And even that. But this is the same. The DOGE dividend is the same as far as I'm concerned, as it's not UBI because it's not an income, but it's a lift all boats policy. And that's what I want to be specific about. These lift all boats policies are good. I'm happy about the lift all boats policy. Donald Trump is doing a lot to lift all American boats right now. And I think that's good, that's needed, and that will help black Americans. But it's not reparations, and it will not replace our calls for reparations. But hey, that's just the message for tonight. If you took any value from tonight's message, from tonight's video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button on your way out. And guys, check out the description. If you look at the description on this video, you'll see a bunch of links to my GoFundMe. I'm currently saving to go back to law school. So if you want to send, if you believe we need more black lawyers, you can help us out by hitting the GoFundMe. That link is in the description. You can check out my book, The Chronicles of Big Mistake. That link is in the description, as well as CASHAPP. If you want to buy me a coffee, listen, I'm a big Starbucks fan. So, well, let me not shout out Starbucks right now because they're in hot water. But yeah, if y'all want to buy me a coffee, you can just give me the direct CASHAPP. But I would really encourage, or I would really appreciate y'all hitting the GoFundMe, trying to save money to go back to law school, and support me by buying the book. If you're looking for ways to support the channel, that's how you do it. With that being said, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.
These bands up in hand and made like 5 bands a day. I was broke, came up with a plan, now I'm the man, there ain't no stopping me. I ran up all these bands up in hand and made like 5 bands a day. I was broke, came up with a plan, now I'm the man, there ain't no stopping me. It ain't no stopping me. Got bands, I'ma run it up, it ain't no stopping me.